All right, so you're thinking about a career as a rolling stock engine inspector. Well, get ready because we're going deep on how to ace that interview.
Yeah, we're going to break down everything you need from understanding what the job really entails to tackling those tough interview questions.
Think of this deep dive as your secret weapon to go from nervous applicant to confident expert.
Exactly. We'll be using insights straight from RoleCatcher's expert guides on this specific career.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We're focusing on the interview because that's where those nerves really kick in.
Right, and we'll be sharing sample questions and what hiring managers are looking for.
Plus, we'll give you some unique talking points to really make you shine. Are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's start with a question that might seem basic but is crucial. What do you know about rolling stock engines?
Oh, this one always gets me. It seems so broad. Like, where do you even begin? What are they really wanting to know?
They're looking for a solid foundation, so don't just list parts. Think about the system as a whole. Talk about how the combustion engine, the fuel system, electrical system, and cooling system, how they all work together to power the locomotive.
Okay, so it's more about showing you understand the big picture than knowing a bunch of technical terms.
Exactly. Paint a picture for them of how these systems connect, and if you can, maybe give a quick example of how a problem in one area could affect the others. It shows you have a deeper understanding.
This is where RoleCatcher's AI can really help, right? You can put in your answer, and it'll analyze it based on real job descriptions.
Right. It might suggest adding details about specific types of engines that are common in the industry. That really shows you've done your homework.
That's a great tip. Okay, moving on to a more technical question. How do you inspect a rolling stock engine?
This is where your methodical approach comes in. Walk them through your process step by step, from the initial visual checks to a more detailed inspection of the fuel and electrical systems.
So it's not just about knowing what to inspect, it's also about showing them you have a system, a process.
Precisely. And don't forget, safety is always paramount. Make sure you explain how you prioritize safety at each step. Talk about the tools, the protective gear, the whole 9 yards.
I never thought about it that way, but it makes sense. You're not just showing them, the steps, but you're also showing that you're committed to safety.
Exactly. And here's a tip to make your answer even better. Don't just say you inspect the fuel system. Explain what you're looking for. Are you checking for leaks, corrosion, the right connections? The more detailed, the better.
That's a great point. It's about showing, not just telling. I bet RoleCatcher's AI feedback could help with that too. Like if I just said, check the fuel lines, it might tell me to explain what a properly functioning fuel line should actually look like.
You got it. The AI has been trained on tons of successful interview responses, so it can tell you where you can improve your answer to fit the specific job.
Okay, let's try another common question. What tools and equipment do you use during a rolling stock engine inspection? I feel like this one could be a trap. How do you answer it without just listing a bunch of tools?
Yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap. Instead, think of it as a chance to show your expertise. Like, instead of just saying multimeter, explain how you use it to test circuits and diagnose problems.
So it's about explaining the why behind the what.
Exactly. Another tip is to choose a few tools that are specific to the job you're applying for. Do some research on the company's engines. It shows you've gone the extra mile.
That's brilliant. Okay, here's a tough one. What is your experience with troubleshooting rolling stock engines? This feels daunting. It's not just about knowing the parts, it's about showing you can solve problems.
You're right. This is where you need to tell story. Think about a challenging engine problem you faced. Walk them through your process, from the initial signs to how you figured out what was wrong.
So that's like a mini case study. Show them how you think and approach the problem.
Exactly. Highlight your analytical skills. Did you use diagnostic software, manuals? Did you talk to colleagues? Show them your whole process.
And I bet RoleCatcher's video practice would be really helpful for this. Seeing yourself answer on camera can show you if you seem confident and knowledgeable.
Sure. The AI can even analyze what you say and give you tips on how to sound more confident. Like, it might suggest using stronger verbs to emphasize your action. So instead of "I looked at the engine," you could say, "I systematically diagnosed the problem."
Makes sense. Okay, last one for now. What is your approach to ensuring rolling stock engines are maintained to a high standard? This one seems like it's more about leadership and the big picture.
You're right. They want someone who understands that maintenance is more than just fixing things when they break. It's about planning ahead, keeping good records, and always looking for ways to improve.
So what's the best way to answer this one?
Start by outlining your philosophy on maintenance. Do you prefer preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance? Explain why and how it benefits the whole operation.
Okay, so I need to show I understand different strategies and why I prefer one.
Exactly. Then get specific. Talk about how you've actually used these strategies. Maybe you created a new checklist that reduced downtime, or maybe you started a training program that helped the team get better at diagnosing problems.
So it's about showing, not telling, proving you've actually made a difference.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to talk about challenges you faced and how you overcame them. It shows you're resilient and a good problem solver.
Wow, this is already so helpful. But before we get to more interview questions, let's step back and look at the bigger picture of this career path. RoleCatcher talks about four main stages, from entry level all the way to chief rolling stock engine inspector. Can we touch on those?
Sure, understanding how your career could progress can help you see where this job might lead. And entry level, you're all about learning. You'll be assisting senior inspectors, mastering those basic inspections.
So it's like an apprenticeship. You're building that foundation and showing you're dedicated.
Exactly. Even at this early stage, start building a portfolio. Document any relevant projects you've worked on, even if they're from other mechanical areas. It shows you take initiative.
That's a great idea. Okay, next up is the junior rolling stock engine inspector. What changes at this level?
Now you're doing those routine inspections on your own, showing you understand the safety rules and procedures. You'll also be helping with more complex inspections, getting experience in problem solving.
So you're getting more independence and showing you can handle inspections solo. What about continuing education at this point?
It's crucial. Taking courses, reading industry publications, even finding a mentor, all of that shows you're serious about growing professionally.
Let's jump ahead to senior rolling stock engine inspector. What are the big differences here?
Now leadership comes in. You're not just inspecting, you're overseeing a team of inspectors, making sure everyone's meeting the standards. You'll also be involved in tougher investigations, needing deeper technical skills.
So communication and documentation become even more important. You're not just fixing engines, you're explaining your findings, maybe even training others.
Exactly. You're a technical expert and a leader, making sure the team is safe and compliant.
And finally, the chief rolling stock engine inspector. What does this role involve?
This is the top spot. You're in charge of the whole inspection program, developing procedures, managing the budget, the whole shebang. It's proof of years of experience, knowledge, and leadership.
It sounds tough but rewarding. You're basically the captain, making sure the inspection program is all about safety and excellence.
You got it. And as you move through these stages, remember, RoleCatcher's Career Compass can be a great resource. It can help you figure out what skills and experience you need to reach the next level.
Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. We've only scratched the surface, but I feel like I've learned so much already.
Me too. We'll cover even more challenging questions next time and give you the knowledge and strategies to really impress those hiring managers. Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. Here's one that can be tricky. Can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a complex problem with a rolling stock engine?
Oh yeah, this one always makes me nervous. It feels like they want more than just technical know-how. What's the best way to handle a question like this?
It's about showcasing your problem-solving skills and showing you can think on your feet. So pick a specific time when you had a really challenging engine problem and walk the interviewer through your thought process step by step.
So not just the problem itself, but how I tackled it. Like, would I talk about using diagnostic tools or checking the manuals or maybe even working with colleagues?
Exactly. Highlight what resources you used and what specific actions you took to fix the issue. Did you have to get creative? Did you try a few solutions before you found the right one? Those things demonstrate resourcefulness and that you don't give up easily.
This feels like a perfect time to use RoleCatcher's AI-powered video practice feature. Seeing yourself answer on camera would really help you gauge if you're coming across as confident and knowledgeable.
Definitely. The AI can also look at your language and suggest ways to make your storytelling more engaging. For instance, it might recommend using stronger verbs to really emphasize what you did. So instead of "I looked at the engine," you'd say, "I systematically diagnosed the problem."
That makes total sense. Okay, let's switch gears to a question that's important for leadership roles. What is your experience with training and mentoring junior rolling stock engine inspectors?
This one's all about showing your leadership qualities, your patience, and your ability to share knowledge effectively. A good place to start is by talking about your experience creating training programs or materials, even if they were informal.
So if I've ever led a training session or mentored a coworker, that's where I'd bring that up.
Exactly. Focus on how you structured the information, what teaching methods you used, and how you checked if the trainee was understanding. Did you use hands-on demonstrations? Create quizzes? Give regular feedback. Think about those details.
And I imagine it would be powerful to share specific stories of how I helped junior inspectors overcome challenges or reach their goals.
Absolutely. It shows you can not only teach the technical stuff, but also inspire and guide others to succeed.
All right, switching gears a bit, here's one that focuses on continuous learning. How do you stay up to date with the latest developments in rolling stock engine technology?
This one's all about passion and showing you're always learning. So start by highlighting how you actively stay up to date. Do you belong to any professional organizations? Do you read industry magazines or go to conferences?
So I should mention, anything I do to learn and stay connected with the latest trends, right?
Precisely. And be specific. Have you taken any courses or workshops on new technologies? Are there any online forums or groups you participate in? Show them you're engaged.
It's all about proving you're not just keeping up, you're actively seeking out and learning new things.
You got it. And this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can be really useful. Their platform can actually connect you with courses and training programs based on your career goals and what you want to learn.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like having a personal career advisor right there in your pocket.
Okay, let's tackle another common interview question. How do you ensure that rolling stock engines are in compliance with safety regulations?
This one seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing they're looking for something more than a basic answer about following the rules.
You're absolutely right. They want to see that you understand those regulations inside and out, that you're truly dedicated to safety, and that you know how to put those regulations into action.
So how should I start answering this one?
Start by showing them you're familiar with the specific regulations for rolling stock engine inspections. Mention any certifications you have or training you've completed that focused on safety procedures.
Okay, so that establishes my credibility as someone who's serious about safety and knows the rules.
Exactly. Then talk about your detailed inspection procedures, making sure to emphasize the steps you take to ensure that each component is up to standard.
So it's not enough to just know the rules. I need to show how I actually apply them in my work.
You got it. And don't be afraid to go a step further. Talk about any extra measures you take to prevent safety issues. Maybe you've implemented additional checks or suggested improvements to existing procedures.
It's about showing that I'm not just following the rules, I'm going above and beyond to make sure everything is safe.
You nailed it. All right, let's shift our focus to a question that's more geared towards those senior level roles. What is your experience with managing rolling stock engine maintenance programs?
This one seems like it requires a broader perspective, something beyond just fixing engines as they break down.
You're right. They're looking for someone who can think strategically, manage resources, and handle complex processes. It's about managing a whole program to ensure the engines are safe and reliable.
So where would you start with this question?
Begin by outlining your experience developing and implementing maintenance schedules. Make sure you explain your understanding of the different types of maintenance, preventative, predictive, and corrective, and how you decide which to prioritize and allocate resources.
Wait, can we break those down for a second? I've heard those terms before, but I'd love a quick refresher.
Absolutely. Preventive maintenance is all about those routine inspections and tasks that are scheduled to prevent issues from happening in the first place. Think of things like oil changes or replacing filters.
Okay, that makes sense. What about predictive maintenance?
Predictive maintenance is all about using data and technology to predict when things might go wrong. This might involve using sensors to monitor the engine's performance so you can spot and address problems before they become major issues.
So it's all about using data to get ahead of the game and prevent those costly breakdowns.
Exactly. And then there's corrective maintenance, which is basically what we think of as fixing something. It's about responding to failures or breakdowns and getting the engine back in working order.
Okay, so ideally, the focus should be on preventative and predictive maintenance to reduce the need for corrective maintenance.
You got it. Now, getting back to the interview question, once you've explained those different maintenance strategies, give specific examples of how you've put them into practice.
So I should share examples of maintenance schedules I've created, any cost-saving measures I've implemented, or training programs I've put together for the team.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention your experience managing budgets, purchasing parts, and working with suppliers. Highlight any ways you've made the program more efficient.
It's all about proving that you're not just a technical expert, but you can also handle the business side of things.
Precisely. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you fine-tune your answers to match the specific job description, so you're highlighting the most relevant parts of your experience.
Okay, let's tackle another challenging question. Can you describe a time when you had to make a tough decision regarding the safety of a rolling stock engine? This one feels like it's really digging into the core of the job.
You're absolutely right. They want to see that you understand just how important this job is and that you can make tough choices, always putting safety first.
So how do I choose the right story to tell? It has to be something that really shows my commitment to safety.
Definitely. Think about a time when you had to weigh different factors, maybe a tight deadline versus a possible safety issue, and you ultimately chose to be cautious.
And I imagine explaining my thought process in a clear and confident way is crucial.
You got it. Walk them through the steps you took. What information did you gather? Who did you talk to? What were the potential risks and benefits of each option? Lay it all out.
And I need to emphasize that safety was my top priority, even if it meant delaying a project or spending extra money.
Exactly. This question is all about showcasing your integrity, your ability to assess risks, and your unwavering commitment to the safety of both the equipment and the people who depend on it.
Okay, last question before we move on. What are your long-term career goals within the field of rolling stock engine inspection?
This is your chance to demonstrate your ambition and where you see yourself within the company in the long run. Think about 5, 10, even 20 years down the line. Are you aiming for a management position, specializing in a specific type of engine, maybe even transitioning into research and development?
So it's about showing them that I'm not just looking for a job. I'm looking for a career path where I can grow and make a real contribution.
Exactly. Don't hold back on your ambition.
Wow.
If you want to be the chief rolling stock engine inspector someday, say it.
But I'm guessing it's important to be realistic too. I can't just say I want to be the CEO of the company, right?
Of course not. Your goals should align with the opportunities within the company and the field. But don't be afraid to dream big.
And this is where RoleCatcher's Career Compass feature can come in handy, right? It can help you see the different career paths within the company and the skills you'll need to reach your goals.
Absolutely. It's like having a personalized roadmap for your career, guiding you to the resources and opportunities that'll help you reach your full potential.
Wow, this has been packed with insights. I feel like I've not only learned how to answer those tough interview questions, but I've also gained a much better understanding of the career path itself.
Me too. We've covered a lot today, but before we wrap things up, I want to touch on a few more things that can help you really polish your interview prep. You're right, we have covered a lot, but there's always more. Besides all the technical stuff and interview tips, think about the company itself. What kind of locomotives do they use? What are their main routes? Doing a little research on that shows you're genuinely interested.
That's a good point. Shows you're not just looking for any job. You're interested in them specifically.
Exactly. And don't forget the basics. Dress professionally, be on time, and be ready to have a conversation, not just give memorized answers.
Speaking of memorized answers, RoleCatcher's AI feedback is a lifesaver. It helps you tailor your answers to the job description so you're highlighting the right skills and experience.
It's like having a personal coach helping you create the perfect pitch for that specific role.
Okay, before we finish up, I wanted to touch on something else. We've talked about technical skills in the interview, but what about the softer skills? What makes a truly great rolling stock engine inspector?
Ah, good question. Besides all the technical knowledge, you need a sharp eye for detail, great communication skills, and a real passion for safety.
Can you expand on those a little? Why are those so important in this role?
Sure. Attention to detail is crucial because you're looking for even the tiniest flaws that could cause big problems. A loose bolt, a bad connection, those things can have serious consequences.
So it's not just about the big picture. It's about checking every little thing.
Exactly. And communication is key because you'll be talking to lots of different people, mechanics, engineers, supervisors. You need to be able to explain what you find clearly, make recommendations, and work well as a team.
So being a team player and a clear communicator, both in writing and speaking, is important.
Right. And lastly, you absolutely need a passion for safety. This job isn't just about keeping the trains moving, it's about protecting people's lives.
It's understanding that responsibility and inspecting everything with safety in mind.
Precisely. Those softer skills, combined with the technical expertise we've talked about, are what make a fantastic rolling stock engine inspector.
I feel like we've covered everything. Technical stuff, career paths, interview tips. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Just this. Believe in yourself, take on the challenge, and never stop learning.
Yeah.
There's a world of opportunities out there in rolling stock engine inspection for those who are passionate, dedicated, and want to make a difference.
That's a great way to end it. So, to our listener, go out there and make your mark. And remember, RoleCatcher is always there to help. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.